Welcome back, community. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Anita, and you are joining me on my Keeping It Real podcast. And today's Real Conversations from the C-Suite is continuing my conversation with Monica Pleasant, HR Director at Medtronic and President of the Orange County NHRA and member of the DEI Council. Monica, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
I really enjoyed our last conversation, especially where we ended when we were talking about the mind shift that we have to have now, especially since the pandemic, is being leaders of whole people, of the individual, not just the person who's showing up and serving a function, but of the whole person. Mm-hmm. And in that way, hopefully leaders can understand that we're not adding to your managerial plate. We're asking you to think differently about how you lead people in a way that values every voice, that ensures inclusivity, and also fosters a sense of belonging for everyone on the team. And we could still take that in so many different levels, but that was where we ended in our last conversation. This time, I want to talk to you about your Belonging Project and specifically what came out of that, which are your Inclusive Meeting Toolkit and your Belonging video series. I know we're going to talk in depth about these things during the NHRA webinar, and that is going to be Wednesday, October 26th from 4 to 5:30. And community, for details, you want to go to nhraLosAngeles.org, and in the top, in the middle, click the DEI button, and it will take you to all the information that you want to find out about that particular webinar. So, Monica, tell us about the Belonging Project that you are shepherding at Medtronic, and in particular, how the Inclusive Meeting Toolkit and the Belonging video series were a result of that.
Happy to. And thank you again for the opportunity to share with you. So I'll say that at Medtronic, it sparked with our organization health survey or engagement survey that we conduct on a regular basis. We did very well, in my opinion, when it came to measuring how are we doing when it comes to fostering a sense of belonging for employees at Medtronic. However, even though we did very well, we still wanted to do even better next time. So a cross-functional team was put together for us to do some studies and to do some research on and dig deeper as to why there were some gaps in terms of people feeling that sense of belonging. So we did a virtual focus group where we were able to gather feedback from employees and get that anecdotal feedback, that qualitative feedback. And some things that came out of it is that we had pockets of the organization that were doing great when it came to fostering belonging amongst their teams. But we had some that were lacking, and they felt a little bit lost of like not knowing what they could do to improve that. So what we did was we did some interviews with those that were doing exceptionally well to jot down what are the best practices that they're doing, that they're seeing the results from. And we put an inclusive meeting toolkit together, because it's in these meetings that, you know, people are coming together, getting to know each other, and where they can really foster that belonging. So we put together this inclusive meeting toolkit that essentially showcases and highlights a lot of those best practices and tools and resources that people were using, so that it's not now just limited to these teams that are doing exceptionally well. We are making this information available to the entire organization, so they all have visibility to these best practices, can put them into action, and drive improvement to make our results in fostering belonging even better.
You know, based on the research that I'm doing, as you can understand, I'm sure I'm constantly doing research around the work that we do. And I'm finding that while we talk about employee engagement, it's really an outcome of employee experience. And what you're talking about in your Inclusive Meeting Toolkit really is talking about how do we create experiences where everyone feels included, where a sense of belonging is fostered, that then goes to employee engagement. Have you talked about the differences between the two in the work that you've been doing?
The difference between employee engagement and employee experience?
Yes.
We really haven't talked about it. It's a great question, Dr. Anita, but we really haven't talked about that much, the difference between the two. But I definitely, hear your point for sure. There is a difference there.
It seems to me that the intentionality that you're placing around the Inclusive Meeting Toolkit really goes to creating the employee experience. And based on how people feel when they come out of those sessions, their engagement is going to be enhanced.
Correct.
So tell me, based on the Inclusive Meeting Toolkit, tell me about the Belonging video series that has also come about from your Belonging project.
Yeah, so another thing that we had identified in the research that we've done is the power in hearing people's stories. Stories are very motivating. They're inspiring. And then again, great lessons learned come from those things that are being shared in the stories. So what we are planning to do is to do just 2-minute videos with multiple people of diverse backgrounds and have them share examples of times when they really felt a sense of belonging and what behaviors did their colleagues demonstrate to them that gave them that sense. So it's very reflective, but at the same time, just great lessons are being shared so that we can all learn from that of what can we do to help our colleagues feel like they belong on the team. And then also ask them, what were some barriers? Tell me about a time that you didn't feel that way. And then what behaviors were demonstrated that create that barrier for you to feel like you belong there. And so again, just great lessons can be learned from just hearing people's stories and sharing it.
And what I'm hearing is, as you record these employee experiences, and people can see themselves in other people's stories, that again, to me, is going to enhance that employee engagement. When people feel a sense of belonging in a community, they're going to be more engaged in supporting whatever that community stands for. And that almost goes back to our personal values, our personal attitudes and behaviors and conversations around diversity, inclusion, and belonging in general as individuals, and how we can integrate that into the communities where we work. So I think that your work and what you're doing with the video series, again, goes back to the importance of employee experience and how that bolsters employee engagement. I would be interested to see what those videos kind of, or how those videos help shape and enhance employee engagement. So when you get done with this particular project, are you looking at doing another engagement survey and comparing the results between the two?
Absolutely. Yes, because we definitely do the engagement survey twice a year on a regular basis. So we'll definitely do a comparison to see the results and how it's driven a change. And one other point I'd like to mention, part of this belonging project, is that we came up with a list of solutions based on the feedback that people shared with us. However, we took the time to actually pause and ask people, out of these options, what would resonate most with you? And so we gave people an opportunity to share their voice, share their input and perspective. And what we're actually choosing to implement is a result of the feedback that people shared. So they're already bought into the solutions that we're choosing to implement because they had a chance to provide us with their input.
I love this, because that right there, what you just described, is an example of the difference between people not getting on board because they feel like diversity, inclusion, and belonging is being done to them, versus people getting on board because they feel like they're part of the solution. They're part of shaping the culture. They're part of fostering that sense of belonging because they actually have a voice and a hand in what their future is going to look like. They're co-creating the future together.
Absolutely.
I think that's beautiful. Congratulations.
Yes, it is so important for us to empower the employees to be a part of the solution. That's what creates the movement for change.
Absolutely. I love how you said that. That's what creates the movement for change. Monica, I can't wait to see what you're going to be bringing to the NHRA webinar on October 26th as one of our best practice leaders. Again, community, you can go to the website nhralosangeles.org. Click on the button in the middle in the top that says DEI to get more information on that particular event. For now, though, we're going to pause the conversation. If you'd like to hear this again or any of my previous podcasts, please go to my website, www.drnita.com, and click on the button, Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita. Please share, like, and give me your feedback. I really do want to provide information that you find most beneficial. Until next time, this is Dr. Anita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.